This just in. We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming with more programming. Yes, as your loving propaganda arm of the CIA, the Mockingbird Media, we are here to instruct you into what you should and should not be outraged over. And it's up to you to act or react accordingly. Yes, a federal grand jury has indicted former President Donald J. Trump. And as many of these liberal, like what aren't liberal anymore, news outlets out there will proudly proclaim, he is the first president to ever be charged with criminal charges. What a shining example of the Patriot movement, the America First movement, the Drain the Swamp movement, the Protect Our Borders movement. What a shining example Donald J. Trump has turned into, hasn't he? So for some of you out there who may still see Trump as the savior of America, Operation Warp Speed aside, right? I'm sure some of you are probably on your 5th booster, and some of you might have even been at the Capitol on January 6th, led like lambs to the slaughter. Hopefully you're not in prison right now. But for those of you who are not in prison, you have something to look forward to, if you so choose to take the bait on this latest honeypot operation. And some of you out there might even view Trump at this point as a kind of a subconscious extension of their own ego. And over the years, they've invested so much over social media. You know, their own identity revolves around being MAGA, right? You might even sleep in your red hat at this point. And so when you see your archetype in Trump here in danger, you might feel personally at risk here. But let me soothe some of your anxieties, and let's just read this article here real quick about the legal challenges that Trump actually does face in all this hysteria right now all over the media. Then this article is from the BBC, pretty fresh off the presses. Trusted, reputable news source, right? In any case, try to keep an open mind here. Fingerprints and a mugshot. This is what happens when Trump is arrested. What is Trump accused of? In 2016, adult film star Stormy Daniels contacted media outlets offering to sell her account of what she said was an adulterous affair she had with Donald Trump in 2006. Mr. Trump's team got wind of this, and his lawyer, Michael Cohen, paid $130,000 to Mrs. Daniels to keep quiet. Hush money, right? This is not illegal, however. When Mr. Trump reimbursed Mr. Cohen, the record for the payment says it was for legal fees. Prosecutors say this amounts to Mr. Trump falsifying business records, which is a misdemeanor, a criminal offense in New York. Prosecutors could also potentially allege that this breaks election law because his attempt to hide his payments to Mrs. Daniels was motivated by not wanting voters to know he had an affair with her. Covering up a crime by falsifying records would be a felony, which is a more serious charge. Even advocates for prosecution acknowledge that either way, this is by no means a clear-cut case. There is little precedent for such a prosecution, and past attempts to charge politicians with crossing a line between campaign finance and personal spending have ended in failure. Imagine that, right? Hence, I guess you could say why there's never been a president convicted of a crime. When Trump is arrested, will his fingerprints be taken? As part of those negotiations with prosecutors, the court may also agree to grant him a private entrance to the court, instead of the more typical perp walk in front of the assembled media. My speculation is he'll milk every moment of this attention. And the world will be revolving around Trump for however many months to come. You could just imagine how big the Johnny Depp trial was. Think of that on steroids times, I don't know, 50 mgs. I don't know how much mgs people take of steroids, but it's going to be pretty insane. Once inside, however, Mr. Trump will be fingerprinted and have his mugshot taken, like all defendants in criminal cases. He will also read his Miranda rights, reminding him of his constitutionally protected right to a lawyer and to decline to talk to police. Defendants charged with a felony are typically handcuffed temporarily, although Mr. Trump's lawyers will try to avoid that for their client. Or will they? You can just imagine the kind of reaction, kind of fervor on Twitter that Donald Trump in handcuffs would inspire. Throughout the booking process, he will be accompanied by Secret Service agents. Mr. Trump would then wait in a holding area or cell until his appearance before a judge. The arraignment, the moment where a defendant enters their plea before a judge, is open to the public. Once the case is booked and a judge is selected, other details will fall into place, such as the timing of the trial and the possible travel restrictions and bail requirements for the defendant. A conviction on a misdemeanor would result in a fine. If Mr. Trump were convicted on a felony charge, he would face a maximum sentence of 4 years in prison, although some legal experts predict a fine is more probable, and that any time behind bars is highly unlikely. Okay? And so for all you MAGAs out there, who are probably, I haven't even checked Twitter since this headline broke, but I'm sure you're just typing away your little fingers till they bleed, tweeting out your outrage over this latest bombshell. Before you run out there and, follow the advice of, say, Donald Trump, who promises in this article from Business Insider, Trump threatens potential death and destruction if he's indicted in New York. Death and destruction. This was from March 24th. It's a few days ago. There he is looking rather gloomy and kind of sweaty. According to this article, real quick, former President Donald Trump made another allusion to violence in a late-night Truth Social post on Thursday, writing that if he's charged in connection to a $130,000 hush money payment to the adult film star Stormy Daniels, it could result in, quote, potential death and destruction. Let's read the actual quote. They call it Twitter-like website. That's Truth Social. This is one of his posts from that Thursday night. What kind of person can charge another person, in this case a former president of the United States, who got more votes than any sitting president in history, and leading candidate by far for the Republican Party nomination, with a crime? Man, he's like the master of... I thought I was bad with run-on sentences. When it is known by all that no crime has been committed, and also known that potential death and destruction in such a false charge could be catastrophic for our country? ? So, what is he insinuating there exactly? And this came on the heels of his other statements. Of course, he's calling this a brag lawyer, and that started up this whole indictment process, got a grand jury together. He's calling him a Soros-backed animal, he says. Here's the actual quote. Bragg, Trump wrote in all caps, Truth Social post, is just carrying out the plans of the radical left lunatics. Our country is being destroyed as they tell us all to be peaceful. So then, what are you telling your supporters to do, Trump? Be not peaceful? I don't know how else you interpret that sentence. Still, the former president called on his followers over the weekend to protest. This was an earlier tweet. I covered it in a different show. Protest and take our nation back in what some described as an ominous echo of his rallying cries ahead of the deadly January 6th Capitol riot. Deadly. And as far as my memory serves me, the only one who ended up dead was the name Miss Babbitt. Got shot. Who got shot in the throat by an overly eager, I think he was a Secret Service police officer, as the unarmed assailant tried to climb through a window. Don't let that little bit of information get through to the press, because they might not be able to make it sound as scary as it was. Steel barricades also went up around Trump Tower this week. I just saw this on the TV. They had a live feed of the Trump Tower, promising any updates when they come as to Trump's whereabouts. I think he's hiding out in the Mar-a-Lago compound as we speak. Steel barricades went up around Trump Tower this week amid his calls to protest. And law enforcement officials have taken steps to secure downtown Manhattan courthouse, where Trump would be arraigned if he's indicted. And now this is old news. And so the real question is that I'm asking everybody out there tonight, especially the diehard MAGAs, right? Will you allow yourself to be led into handcuffs if it means following Trump's footsteps? And for what? To protect Trump from a misdemeanor charge? Really? A misdemeanor charge that, by the way, won't even impact his ability to run for office, according to this article. Can he still run for president? An indictment or even a criminal conviction would not prevent Mr. Trump from continuing his presidential campaign if he so chooses. And he has given every indication that he will keep pushing ahead regardless of what happens. There are some token Trump supporters there, sign waving, flag waving. That must have been the protest, huh? He called for on Tuesday. Didn't turn into too much, thankfully. But we'll see with this latest news. And as this trial drags on, making headlines, interrupting your regularly scheduled programs for months to come, likely. In fact, there's nothing in the U.S. law that prevents a candidate who is found guilty of a crime from campaigning for or serving as president, even from prison, it says. So, hey, we could have a president that's in prison. And again, there's the image. Doesn't it look like something out of like a... and this is basically what we're witnessing here. This is like a daytime drama show. That's what it reminds me of. Especially this guy, right? The lawyer. What's his name? Bragg, Mr. Bragg. You can't make this stuff up, guys. You cannot make this stuff up. And so again, my question is to the MAGA faithful out there. Are you just going to be another willing participant in yet another psyop put out there by the Mockingbird media? Are you just going to be a blind, mind-controlled MKUltra slave and do what you're told? Or are you going to step back and let clear heads prevail and just watch as the news tries to manufacture another national crisis out of this political actor on a stage? And just a little refresher for people. This concept of, I wonder how much of this experimentation on individuals can be applied on a national level, especially in this day and age with the prevalence of social media, again, acting as a propaganda arm of the CIA, the Mockingbird media, corporate news agencies, pumping out the narrative on a daily basis, reinforcing these sound bites, these talking points, that then just get regurgitated all over social media, and all these little willing participants in this Mockingbird media experiment, willingly just go around promulgating the myths, the stories, the narratives that shape so many of our lives. And I wanted to remind a few of you, I just brought up Wikipedia here. This is how it works. Just a real quick definition of psychic driving is what it's called. Psychic driving was a psychiatric procedure of the 1950s and the 1960s in which patients were subjected to a continuously repeated audio message on a looped tape to alter their behavior. In psychic driving, patients were often exposed to hundreds of thousands of repetitions of a single statement over the course of their treatment. They were also concurrently administered muscular paralytic drugs such as Curare to subdue them for the purpose of exposure to looped messages. The procedure was pioneered by Dr. D. Ewan Cameron and used and funded by the CIA Project MKUltra in Canada. And so it got me thinking, so they first put them in this medicated state, right? Well, first of all, right off the bat, just makes me think of the fact that, how America is the most medicated country on the planet. So not only are, many Americans on different type of mood-altering drugs, they were given administered muscular paralytic drugs, right? According to this article here, 2021, it's not just a movie, how television shapes our brains. Television puts us into a hypnotic state. What does that mean for us? And there's some dude kicking back with his Netflix. And I just wanted to home in on these couple points here. Movies and television put us into a hypnotic state. And she has a link to the study. How TV influences your mind through hypnosis. Within seconds of turning on the TV, our brain waves lower to an alpha state, which is where we are most impressionable. The information we see or hear on the television, whether it's the news or a fictional film, works on our subconscious mind. What we believe, how we perceive the world and others, our values and our aspirations, all of this can be reconfigured by what we watch on the TV. Now scientists know that these changes occur on a neurological level. And she has a link to this study right here from academicoop.com. The impact of television viewing on brain structures, cross-sectional and longitudinal analysis. And very briefly, they just get into the effect of, here's the abstract. Television viewing is known to affect children's verbal abilities and other physical, cognitive, and emotional development in psychological studies. However, the brain structure development associated with TV viewing has never been investigated. We have examined cross-sectional correlations between the duration of TV viewing and the regional gray-white matter volume. After correctional and confounding factors, we found positive effects on TV viewing on RGMV of the frontopolar and the medial prefrontal areas in cross-sectional and longitudinal analysis. Positive effects of TV viewing on blah 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 of the areas of the visual cortex in cross-sectional analysis, and positive effects of TV viewing on blah 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 the hypothalamus septum and sensory motor areas of the longitudinal analysis. We also confirmed negative effects of TV viewing on verbal intelligence quotient in cross-sectional and longitudinal analysis. These anatomical correlates may be linked to previously known effects of TV viewing on verbal competence, aggression, and physical activity. In particular, the present results showed effects of TV viewing on frontal polar area of the brain, which has been associated with intellectual abilities. So yeah, as all the commercials go, they're making you stupid. Okay. Yes, like, was it the commercial for Hulu?
Hello, Earth. I'm Alec Baldwin, TV star. You know, they say TV will rot your brain. That's absurd. TV only softens the brain like a ripe banana. To take it all the way, we've created Hulu. Hulu beams TV directly to your portable computing devices, giving you more of the cerebral gelatinizing shows you want anytime, anywhere, for free.
I only act out because I want your love. Dynamite!
Mushy mush. And the best part is there's nothing you can do to stop it. I mean, what are you going to do, turn off your TV and your computer? Once your brains are reduced to a cottage cheese like mush, we'll scoop them out with a melon bowler and gobble them right on up. Oops. I think I'm drooling a little. Because we're aliens. And that's how we roll. Hulu, an evil plot to destroy the world. Enjoy.
Yes, they are aliens, and they are sucking out your brain. Introduction, and then in this study real quick here, the introduction, many cross-sectional and longitudinal studies have reported deleterious effects of television viewing on the cognitive abilities, attention, behaviors, and academic performance of children. The longer TV viewing was associated with lower intelligence quotient, IQ, and reading grades in a cross-sectional study. However, the longitudinal effects of TV viewing on full-scale IQ are less clear. In the intervention study, restricting children's TV viewing for a short period improved their cognitive abilities. Imagine that. And other longitudinal studies showed TV viewing affected attention, which in turn correlated to a wide range of cognitive performances. Finally, longitudinal studies have shown that TV viewing has detrimental effects on verbal abilities, including verbal working memory. So the moral of the story is, get your damn kids outside. Limit their screen time. Shut off, lock up their devices. Boot them out the front door and let them go play in the dirt for a while. It would do a world of good. Trust me. That's the moral of the story, okay? My messaging tonight, cutting it short, because I know I always go too long, so I'll just keep this one short. Save the best for later. I plan on doing we have this, there's two sides of this political divide, right? We have the pendulum that swings left and right. And if the Mockingbird media, with its psychic driving methods of indoctrination with these trauma-induced brainwashing sessions nightly on the news, continually reinforcing, pounding into our heads, good guy versus bad guy, Republican versus Democrat. They can just get a few unhinged individuals to react in a violent way. Then they win. And finally the rehearsal goes live, right? And the threat doesn't even have to be a real one at this point. Remember all the patsies, the mentally ill patsies that were set up by the FBI following 9/11 to continue to promote this fear climate, that we were actively engaged in a war on terror, right? And that at any moment, based on the threat level assessment out there, put these little graphs on your screen every day. Today is a yellow, next day is red. Terror level warning. It's all trauma-induced brainwashing. Psychological operation on the minds of the American people. Keep you continually in a state of fear to the point where your reasoning capacity shuts down. You can't start asking bigger questions like, hey, wait a second. What the hell's my government doing? Stripping all my liberties away as they send all my taxpayer dollars some other war across the ocean somewhere. Yeah, maybe we should do something about that. Maybe we should clean up Washington, right? Maybe we, the people should drain the swamp. Everything at this point that the mainstream media is pushing is a giant distraction. That's all they know how to do, is lie, lie, lie. And you have to ask yourself, what are you being distracted from? And of course, as always, as their psychic driving goes, you have to ask yourself, where are they trying to lead? What direction are they trying to lead the population in now? Who are they trying to provoke? What kind of reaction are they trying to provoke out of the people? And if they're successful, where would that lead us next? And doesn't it, definitely at this point, do more harm than good for Trump to call on his supporters, given the current political climate, which Trump lays out, right? Our country's in shambles, you know. The left only wants peace. This is no time for peace. Does it not do more harm than good for Trump to call on his supporters to take his country back, take our country back? Or is that not just a little bit selfish when all he faces is, at most, a misdemeanor charge? You know, Trump is just one man. There's a bigger battle out there for the soul of this nation.
So we will see definitively a lot of anger already now, but probably increased by the end of the year, because this crisis will be with us until we really have found a remedy. So we have to prepare for a more angry world. And how to prepare? It means to take the necessary action.